So if you want to take charge, just let Christopher know.
Hey, listen, can you just send an email or a text about the May 3rd thing? Otherwise, I won't
Oh
remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, oh
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Christopher's going to include it in the next email.
And that's after class, I assume?
Yeah, yeah. That's
Okay.
the Sakadawa. It'll be 2 days into Sakadawa. So
I did. I just did it for both of us.
And like I said, we'll do Buddhist things. Maybe we'll play bocce. That's worth an airplane ticket, Lee.
It's
We're
around the
not
bocce. It goes around the.
bocce, and then for the stout, we'll have a bossa nova. You can hear. We'll reveal a few of our bossa nova song stylings.
Some of our newer ones.
All in
I
the
am gonna come down in June.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
really?
Yeah,
Wow,
I'll
cool.
talk to you later about that, though.
Okay, yeah.
Neat.
Is everything okay?
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, could be good. Take it.
Alrighty then. I had the most amazing message from somebody this week in relation to weight loss program that I've been following called Noom. And they have a social media component of the app. And so I posted this message that said something about like, I've been stuck at this weight, yes, I dropped 40 pounds. It was great. But now I've been like at this weight for about a year now, almost a year. And, what do I do? I mean, I was just sort of like, and I of course know the answer to this, but it was fun to vent. And so somebody very blessedly on Noom answered and said, well, if you don't change anything, nothing will change. And that's what Buddha said too.
Well,
And
there
that's
you go.
true for everything in life. And that is why I mentioned that story, because we're not here to confirm our existing beliefs, our existing paradigms, our existing biases. In other words, this is not like we've talked about confirmation bias. This is not a session where we're meant to just go, oh yeah, I've been right all along. What would that mean if we've been right all along?
Oh, that wouldn't be so good.
That would be like Jack Nicholson when he said, well, what if this is as good as it gets? So Buddha gave us this path so that we could see where we've been mistaken. And if we trust in it, or if we take refuge in it, or use it as our direction, all those mean the same thing. And we listen with open ears, like a beginner's mind. We do not bring into it our biases and our assumptions and our superstitions. There's a chance that things that we hear today from Christopher will actually help us shift. So with that in mind, think about the things then in your world, in your life, in your experience, and the sentient beings that surround you who are, experiencing samsara, the cyclic existence. And the point of this class is to seek enlightened ways to improve the nature of our existence for ourselves and especially for all beings. And we turn to the Buddha. We visualize the Buddha in front of us, perhaps your own personal teacher or teachers. We've all had many or some that have really touched us, and that's why we're on this path or on a path. So visualize them in front of you and feel a lot of gratitude for these way showers. And recall with humility, but kind of a humility flavored by optimism and enthusiasm, that with them you can shift, you can change, you can progress. If you drop your habitual stuff that is not helpful and follow the advice of these enlightened beings that we're visualizing, we will shift. So with that in mind, and very open hearts and sentient beings surrounding us, we happily and gratefully take refuge And we'll chant it in Tibetan 3 times. Sangye chodon soki chodon la jantu bardu dakni kyapsu chi dakni chinyan nipe sonam ki drola peshe sangye drupar sho sangye chodon soki chodon la jantu bardu dakni kyapsu chi Daki Shinyan Gipe Sonam Ki Rola Pinchir Sangye Lupar Sho Sangye Chodam Soki Chodam La Chakshu Ardu Dakni Kyasu Chi Daki Shinyan Gipe Sonam Ki Rola Pinchir Sangye Lupar Sho. And with that, all of these enlightened beings and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and all of our helpers and our companions on the path, we are all very happy. All are very, very, very pleased and very happy and celebrating that we have taken steps and are taking steps. And with that same sense of joy and optimism, we will recite the 4 immeasurables in English. May all sentient beings have happiness and causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. And this is extremely important that we understand this even-minded attitude about sentient beings, that we can't continue on this Mahayana path if we hold some as friends and some as enemies. And today Christopher is going to be going into some of the issues around these 4 elements, the 4 immeasurables, sorry. You know, what are the causes of happiness? What are the causes of suffering? How do, you know, it's nice to recite these, but we need, of course, the whole point of this path is we need methods to bring these states into existence or into manifestation. We can't just wish it. We need to know the methods. So that's what this session will be about today. Last thing, in preparation for the teaching, because it's said to stir up so much virtue and merit by recalling your teacher and recalling especially your dependence on the teachings and the Dharma and the teachers and the guide showers, this 7-limb prayer. Where is the 7-limb prayer?
You'll be on the second page.
Yes.
I have
On the other
plenty
side
of
of the
copies.
page.
Anyway, we're going to say the 7-limb prayer. If you know it, great. If you have it, great. If you don't, oh well. We have. So visualize your teachers in front of you, the guide showers, every being who has ever helped you along the way, which then automatically becomes every being. But especially right now today, let's focus on Geshe Nima, any personal other gurus that you have a connection with, like in our case, Venerable Robina, but especially Geshe Drakpa, Geshe Sopa, and others, Lama Pasang. And we bring them into our hearts and our awareness and our recalling their kindness for showing us this path and that path towards. Yeah. So we'll say the 7 limbs to them as an offering, our intention and our thoughts directed towards the teachers and the way showers. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering,
actually and mentally transformed. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since the beginning of time, and rejoice in the merits of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until samsara ends, and turn the wheel of karma for sentient beings. I dedicate the merit created by myself and others to the great enlightenment.
And sort of visualize a purified realm, the fruit of your practice ultimately, and offer that to the gurus.
Thanks. That is so true. If we didn't have the teachers we've had to pass this information down to us and to explain it to us, we'd be lost, really. I mean, personally, I feel that way. I mean, there were lots of things that brought us to this Buddhist path, and I'm grateful for all of them. Grateful for the religion I grew up with, which was Catholicism, and then moving from there on. Grateful to my parents for being so open-minded that this seemed like nothing different or unusual to take on a different path like this. But this path in particular is so impressive, and it requires the teachers. If we didn't have the teachers who pass it down this lineage, it would be lost, and that's just an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing that they've done. His Holiness Lama Yeshe Lama Zopa, all of our teachers. It's just amazing what has occurred. So this session today, again, it's about Nagarjuna is giving advice to a king, and this particular advice is about leadership and being very clear in your leadership. And I'm taking it and turning it into leadership of our own minds, because it's a leadership of whatever your realm is. And our realm basically is our consciousness. Everything we experience is within our consciousness. So it's how to take leadership, using Nagarjuna's teachings, how to take leadership of our own minds. So to get us into this, I want to do a very brief opening about non-duality, because we talked a lot about non-duality. It's sometimes it's very, very difficult to get our mind around it, because we're so used to the opposite. We're so used to things being separate, subject, object, separate out there. We're not used to actually the non-dual view that is so essential to what Nagarjuna is talking about. This is the Prasangika Madhyamaka non-dual view. So in everyday life, we see things in opposites. It's like it's right, wrong, me, you, good, bad. That's our dualistic view. We see things that way. And that feels very, very solid and fixed to us. But the Nagarjuna Prasangika Madhyamaka view asks us to look more closely at that view that we have. Non-duality means that things appear real, but they don't exist in a fixed or independent way, the way they seem to us. Everything we experience, our thoughts, our emotions, our identities, and all situations, all of these arise through causes, conditions, relationships, and the mind, our mind, that labels all of that. Labels it, says what it is to us. This is called dependent co-arising. Dependent co-arising, because it's not just one thing coming at us and an objective thing out there. We are actually deciding what it means to us. We're labeling it with our consciousness, and we're bringing all of our experiences and conditionings into whatever appears to us. So it is very much a non-dual experience that we're having. The problem is we don't recognize it. We don't recognize it. We think what's out there is the way it is, and then we just react to it without understanding that a lot of that reaction has to do with our own consciousness and our own conditioning. So this has to do with emptiness. And what is emptiness? Emptiness doesn't mean that nothing exists. Emptiness means that things are empty of being solid and unchanging. There is nothing that is solid or permanent like that. Everything is empty of being that and constantly changing. And the reason this matters is that if we believe that we ourselves are fixed in the way who we are, then what we do is we react very quickly to things. We take things very personally because we are the ruler of our little kingdom of consciousness, right? We take everything personally and we lock people into labels. This person's that way, that person's this way, this politician is that politician is that. And we lock them. And it's all happening because of our own particular consciousness and the way we're labeling and projecting onto things. When we see things as changing and dependent, then we gain a little space in our thinking. There's a little room in our thinking to shift and change our mind. And in that space, what we can do is we can pause, we can choose, we can make a choice about how we want to react, and we can then respond with wisdom and compassion. And this is really important. And we're going to go through some ways that we can do this today. One simple way to remember this is that things feel solid, but they're actually changing all the time, and they are interconnected. And because of that, we have the choice and the freedom to respond wisely.
You know, I just got to mention that while you were saying that, I immediately went into a dualistic. I was thinking all these external things are constantly changing and shifting, forgetting that, oh, wait, I'm changing and shifting with them.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that in there because probably other people were doing the same thing.
Yeah, we're
It's
constantly
all changing and shifting,
everything.
including especially your consciousness.
Right. So with this kind of understanding, this is a very simple way of looking at non-duality. Non-duality can get to such profound levels. I mean, basically what is said is that the final realization of non-duality, the final actual realization of non-duality is when you become enlightened. So we're just sort of skirting around it and talking about what it means here. So Nagarjuna's teachings on leadership become very practical. They show us how to lead our minds, our reactions, and our lives with clarity and awareness. So we take his teachings that he's giving to a king how to be a leader, and we're turning it to ourselves how to be a leader of our own lives. So here are the first verses. In order to maintain control, oversee all the country through the eyes of agents. Always conscientious and mindful, do what accords with the practices. So these are modern renderings that we can then turn to our own, think of it in terms of our own mind, our own realm of influence. Stay informed about what is happening throughout your realm of influence. Rely on trustworthy observers and reports so you understand the conditions that are surrounding you. With mindfulness and responsibility, act according to ethical principles. So this is about being aware in a very dependent and interdependent world. Nagarjuna is basically saying you cannot lead wisely if you don't see and perceive clearly. If you don't understand clearly what's going on, how can you lead your mind wisely? You know? So in ancient times, of course, this is, during the times of Nagarjuna, the king needed messengers. So what we rely on is data, news, and communication systems. Feedback from others, we rely on that. And then we rely on our own perception and our own judgment. But here's where the Prasangika view deepens this teaching. Everything we see, what we perceive, is not neutral and it's not fixed. the way we think it is. It arises from past karma, our actions of body, speech, and mind. They color everything that we perceive. Our habits and conditioning, our emotional states, and the way the mind, our mind, labels our experience. So we're talking about our mind here and taking a leadership role with our mind. And we need to understand that our past karma has a lot to do with the way we think and behave and speak, our habits and conditioning, our emotional states, and the way we label our experience. So what this means is that two people can look at the same situation and see completely different realities. Completely different. We know this. We see it on the news every day. So skillful leadership then requires not just information. It's not just information, but actually being aware of our own mind, how our mind is functioning, all of these habits that we have and emotional states we have and all of the imprints we have on our mental continuum, the role that they play in how we experience our world. So we have to be aware of that. That's skillful leadership. So through mindfulness, what we become aware of is our anger arising.
Christopher, would it be safe to add to that that the situation arising is also, it's our karmic appearance? So,
Sure, of course. Yeah, we talked
I mean,
about
that seems central.
that's why it is our karmic appearance, because our karma is coloring everything that appears to us.
Well, that it's appearing to us.
That it is appearing to us is our
That's what I'm
karma.
trying to say.
Right. We'd be in some other realm with some other, if we had a different kind of karma. The reason we're here with this appearance is our karma, each of us. But each of us also has very unique karma. And that plays into how we experience and behave in this world.
Yeah, I think I just thought it would be good to be sure that we understood that the appearance itself is coming about due to our karma as well.
Well, I think
In other words, let me be blunt. If you're in a situation you don't like, it's part of the appearance of your karma
Absolutely.
showing up, and it's not just how you analyze it or react to it, but that it's happening in the first place, plus all of your processing of it.
Could you say that we all might be looking at the same thing, but we're not seeing the same thing?
Exactly.
So that's
Yeah, we're not seeing it in
Yeah.
the same way.
exactly.
In
I
the
mean,
same
it's yeah.
I mean, we can all say, yeah, this is a color red. But do we always see it in the same way? Do we have the same emotional reaction to it? Do we have the
I
same
have an
history
aversion
with
to
it?
red.
Does it symbolize certain things to us that it doesn't to other people? It's like that. That plays into our relationships all the time.
You know what I find interesting about color is like we assume that everybody experiences redness the way we experience redness. And that's kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
I like green.
I mean, it's very
We used to talk
Woo-woo-y.
about this when we were kids at the kitchen table. Our mother, like, how do you know that that's really the color you think it is? It's like, whoa, mom.
I never had those conversations.
Yeah. So we become, through mindfulness, we become aware of our particular states, our emotional states, our afflictive emotions and how they're arising and what causes them, our habits, our conditioning, all of that. We look at our mind and really analyze it rather than just go, oh, I'm a victim of everything, I can't help myself. We analyze what we are doing with our mind and how these things arise for us. And we can guide our actions much more skillfully when we start to do that. So this is, like I said, about leading your own mind. Nagarjuna's advice to the king applies just as much to each of us. We are each the leader of our own mind streams. That is the realm of our experience. That's the only way we experience. We are, maybe another way of putting it, we're each the leader of our own consciousness. That's the only way we experience the world is through our consciousness. No other way. So we're the leader of that. That's important to remember. We have a role. We can do something about this. So it'd be very wise to ask ourselves, what am I actually perceiving right now? What assumptions am I adding to what I'm perceiving? And what emotional lens is shaping this moment for me? We all know what that's like. If we're angry with somebody, that completely becomes the lens through which we view them and react to them and behave with them. So it's all happening in our consciousness. If we can shift it, and that's what this is about today, ways to shift it that are beneficial, not only for the other person, but for us, the way we experience. So our anger, when we looking through the lens of anger, our anger can make a very neutral comment from somebody feel like it's an attack. Why did you say that? What do you mean? You know, and it could be something like, I didn't mean anything, but we hear it in a different way, and we take it as an attack. I'm sure we've all experienced this in some ways or another. Our anxiety can make just uncertainty, feel like danger. Uncertainty is just not being certain. Doesn't mean it's going to be dangerous, or it could mean it's going to be wonderful. We're just uncertain. But if we are very anxious, we'll always go to its danger. It's a problem. Look out, Our attachment, this is big, huge. We all know this. Our attachment can make something seem far more important than it is. Of course, the way Rabina Court puts it, far more delicious than it actually is. Our attachment does that. Our attachment projects all of these wonderful things onto whatever we're attached to. Could be, it's anything, you name it, and we will project so many things onto that it doesn't actually have from its own side at all. So when we recognize this, that we recognize that experience is arising dependently on our propensities and habits and what's out there, how it's appearing to us. When we recognize that we can see that it's not fixed or solid, and that's when something can shift and we can gain just a little bit of space in our thinking about how we're going to react or respond in the situation that we're in. When we recognize our role, in other words, that we're playing in everything, then we have some power. We have some power if we have the tools to go, oh, wait a minute. Let me look at this and see if I'm just not layering something onto this situation that doesn't need to be layered onto that. If I can change my mind. So we can respond more wisely when we do that. Skillful leadership of our own mind begins with observing things very clearly. And what that means is through this lens, the view of dependent arising, the view of emptiness. Nothing exists inherently the way it appears to us. We have to recognize that it's a non-dual situation going on. The way our consciousness is projecting onto our experience, and then what sort of can we actually connect with our experience in a different way that removes all of the layers that may not be helpful. And we just want to be helpful and connect. That's basically. So we have to see clearly to be able to do that. We have to see our own minds clearly to be able to do that. And then we need to question the appearances. We need to question, is that really the way that thing is? Whatever it may be. We should question everything, really. We really should. I question, for instance, the media and the news all the time. I don't take it as some kind of truth. I always will look at it and go, how is my mind viewing this? And I start to change my mind. I really hate the whole idea of this battle going on between a certain way of thinking here and a certain way of thinking there. And I go, this can't be right. I don't want to buy into that. I'm changing my mind about that. There's something much bigger going on that we can all connect and we can all come to agreement upon. We all want to be happy. Nobody wants to suffer. We all want to, we want to enjoy one another. We want to love. We want to have a happy, good time. Everybody wants that. So this is the way to sort of pull ourselves out of the, get rid of these horrible people over here. They must die and suffer. What good is that? It doesn't help anything. It doesn't help anything. So that's these are practical takeaways. So now what Nagarjuna is talking about is honoring those things that are good. When we see goodness in any way, shape, or form, to honor that. That's a very important thing. And this is about recognizing interdependence and respecting sources of wisdom. So I'll just go to save a little time, because there's a lot here. I'll go to the modern rendering of what he's telling the king. And so he's telling the king about his kingdom and stuff. But we think about our own minds here. Respect and support those who live with integrity and wisdom, while treating everyone with basic kindness and dignity. So this is about interdependence and gratitude. Nagarjuna is highlighting the importance of honoring individuals who cultivate virtue. In the Buddhist tradition, there's the Sangha. This is the community of monastics and all the serious practitioners, and that they are considered the foundation of good qualities. If you think of the famous text or prayer written by Tsongkhapa, the foundation is called the foundation of all good qualities. And it begins, the foundation of all good qualities is the kind and venerable guru. From our teachers we wouldn't have any of this information if they didn't pass it down. We just wouldn't have it. So we want to honor that. We want to respect that. We want to love that. That's something that really is something worth respecting, honoring, and loving. So we're encouraged to support them, through offerings and respect and service. But Nagarjuna is also pointing out something that's essential that extends beyond the monastics. It extends beyond our teachers even. That none of us grow alone in a vacuum. None of us do that. Anyone who lives with sincerity and kindness and ethical discipline deserves appreciation. Our teachers that we've had, our communities, our friends, even strangers, have all contributed to who we are, the path that we're on, where we're at now. We wouldn't be here without everybody. We just wouldn't. Mm-hmm. And so in that sense, we can be grateful for everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, because it brought us to this point where we are actually questioning reality. We're looking into our own experience, our consciousness, and we're trying to do something about it. So the only positive and helpful attitude to adopt is to be grateful for everyone and everything that has brought us to where we are now. So that's a shift which is important to make. Everything beneficial in our lives arises through others. That's the truth. There is no, if you really analyze that, there's not a thing that we love, that we enjoy, that benefits us, that we think is great, that hasn't arisen because of others. Every meal on our table is because of others. The clothes we wear are because of others. Our education is because of others. Everything is because of others. So there is no such thing in Buddhism as a self-made person. It's impossible. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. So that's one thing we have to really clearly recognize.
Remember this, I don't know why this did not, sorry, but it exemplifies this sort of, or I'm just being random. In Downton Abbey, the series.
Oh, I love it.
If you ever watched it, but there was a really nice example of the guru-disciple relationship with the woman who was the chef for the whole estate. He was quite good, and you saw the evolution over the 6 years of the series of her scullery maid, who then became her assistant chef, and eventually. But there was this pivotal moment where the scullery maid had been promoted to assistant cook. And one of the guests commented to the scullery maid, "Wow, you could do this on your own." And she kind of got a little attitude like, "Oh, yes, I could do this on my own."
Mm.
And there was this exchange where she was giving attitude to the head chef who had taught her everything, showed her, years and years of patience. And the head chef said to her, "I taught you everything." When the girl was giving her some attitude, she said, "I taught you everything I know." And the girl goes, "Yeah, but I learned it."
Well, there's that. I mean, we can be like Buddhism says, you can be like an overturned pot. You can hear the information can be coming in, but you're just not hearing it. You're not.
Yes, she was an appropriate vessel.
Yeah. You have to be an appropriate vessel. Yeah.
I thought that was such a
Yeah.
poignant point.
It's
That's
good
not a
point.
problem.
I taught you everything I know. Yeah, but
I learned it. Yeah.
So what was the original quote you said? Something about, what did you say, that everything that we have comes from others, or what was the original?
Everything beneficial in our lives
Okay.
arises through others.
Okay.
Arises through others. If you actually think
Well, I
about it,
consider my breath very beneficial.
but how do you get that breath?
Trees.
That's
By
the-
breathing.
The trees,
Trees.
the oxygen, the sun.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about the whole universe.
Or what about my five senses? I mean, my body, I think, is
where'd you
very
get your
important.
body?
Where'd you get it?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
did it come from? I mean, that's what we have to look at.
Yeah.
Mm,
You know. Yeah.
interesting.
It wouldn't have happened without our parents.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have happened.
And it wouldn't be sustained without the
Nurturing.
necessary new. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and none of this could happen without the oxygen in the sun.
Got it,
right?
got it,
Yeah,
okay.
So it comes from, others,
Mhm.
human or otherwise, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
bugs.
Yeah. Out the end,
Everything.
everything, right?
There is this,
It's huge. It's huge, and we tend to forget that.
Yeah, that's where I was trying to make the connection when you said the benefit from others. I'm like, okay, what about our breath? And now I get it, what you're saying.
That's why
Okay.
I don't see how large. it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Plants are-
I mean,
Yeah.
I think on this planet without plant life,
Yeah, for
we
sure.
would be dead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when we recognize this and when we honor others, including the environment, the planet, the cosmos, then what happens is that respect will arise naturally in us. We will learn how to actually respect others for what they are, what they have contributed. And everything, the animals, the trees, the sky, the oxygen, everything. We learn to, when we value it, we learn to respect it. When we see how important it is to us, then we will respect it. We'll respect our parents, even if our parents gave us, a shit time. But we realize that if it weren't for them, we wouldn't even be here. And if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have traveled the path that we're on that leads us to this.
All of this that you're talking about, and you set this up, all this is about the domain of our consciousness
Yeah.
and what our consciousness experiences. So,
How to see our
and
consciousness clearly.
that is where we have agency.
Mhm.
And I think you're going to get into this, but the minute you find yourself kind of going, "Yeah, but so and so did this and it's horrible," stop yourself, because first of all, you're not omniscient, so you don't know the whole picture. Even if it, and there may be wrongdoing, and that's not even you will lose the agency you have over your own consciousness if you suddenly start to analyze and think you need to come to some conclusion about the behavior of someone else, something external. I wish I could put it in the more pure sense that I'm sort of sensing it, but it's
Yeah, we will
You're gonna
talk
get
more
into that, yeah.
about that, because of course problems arise.
Mhm.
And how do we deal with that? We will talk more about that. But when we recognize that everything good in our lives arises from others, then we begin to honor goodness. We will honor goodness, and by supporting goodness in others, what it does is it supports goodness in the world. If we support goodness in others, it supports goodness in the world. I mean, you could go back to the example that Nagarjuna was talking about with monastics. If you support, for instance, the Dharma and the Dharma teachers, and or you support, like some of the monasteries or something like that, you're supporting goodness in the world. You're supporting I don't know what you call it, a path that leads to liberation from suffering for others. That's goodness. And so to support institutions like that or people like that, you're supporting goodness in the world when you do that. So that's important to remember. And also just supporting, just not just, you can take it away from the monastics, but just people who do good in everyday life. In their everyday life, they're always, they're trying to be beneficial, but trying to do good. We want to support that. Not necessarily with money, but just to support it energetically. Support them, encourage them, be grateful to them, thank them, like that. Just people in our lives, just within our families. Say thank you when they've done something nice. Not like they should do it. Like, well, that's your job. No, to look at that and support it and honor it, because that supports goodness in the world. It helps it to grow.
It's a very powerful practice.
Yeah.
It also helps us to overcome. Typically, we have a negative mindset. So it helps us to overcome our own negative mindsets and negative judgments by keeping an eye out for any movement or willingness in a positive or kind direction. Helps us, when we recognize that, helps us to overcome our habitual negative judgment, which psychologists say most of us have a lot of the time. Right? Would you guys agree?
Yeah, it's obvious. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Because if we support that and we see it, we recognize it, then it takes away some of that negative judgment. We go, no, there is goodness here. There is goodness going on, and we sort of turn our minds around.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being so down and depressed, and the world is this and that. And,
Yeah. Doomsday narrative.
Right, doomsday. We can turn that around in our own mind by seeing where the goodness actually is.
How many times in the workplace have we heard, that's their job, don't thank them. They're supposed to do that.
Right.
And I can't tell you how, and
That's so true, though.
and you're just like, what? But
Mhm.
that's
Yes, Don. And a lot of times
that's
what you're saying is
management,
it's not even said you're not supposed to thank them. They just don't thank us.
Yeah.
We don't thank others.
You're getting paid to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
that doesn't help anything.
Yeah.
Right. So we have what we appreciate, we strengthen. It's just like what you said. What we appreciate, we strengthen. If we appreciate goodness, we strengthen goodness. If we appreciate dominance and taking over and being the center of everything, that's what we're supporting. We're supporting ego. If we appreciate that. And this whole realm, the suffering realm, suffering arises due to ego and ego grasping. So we really want to not be appreciating that. We want to find a way that we can say, yes, I am a good person. Yes, I have agency. Yes, I can be, I have power, but it's for good. It's to benefit. It's not just to get more and more and more from me, and mine. Usually it's me and mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to have a broader view of how everything is interconnected.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So here are some simple ways that we can honor everyday goodness. First, then there's a few of these. The first is choosing not to add to negativity. So what this looks like, say you're not joining in when others are complaining or gossiping. We just don't join in that conversation. Or you let a harsh comment about someone stop with you and you don't pass it on. You just don't need to pass it on. You just let it stop. Or say there's an online conversation, as there are so many these days that are very angry and the emotions are high. And what you do is you pause before you respond. You pause to think, how do I want to respond to this? I do not want to add to the negativity. So how do I want to respond to that? Or sometimes it's just don't respond. If it's so heated, you just would get blasted if you respond. If you said something good, they go, so you just don't even respond. There's no need to. We don't have to in some cases. That's why pausing is good. Pausing is good. It gives us just a little space to think, how do I want to react to this without just going on autopilot. So sometimes the most powerful support is what we don't contribute. We don't add on to the negativity. We don't contribute to it. We don't contribute to the gossip or whatever it is. And sometimes you could even turn it around. You could say, I hear what you're saying about this person, but maybe they just they're going through a really rough time. At least open up the mind to have some kind of sympathy towards this person rather than just talk about how bad they are and this and that, whatever it is. We all know this happens. But to think of it in a different way, to try and offset the negativity. So then here's another way: rejoicing instead of comparing. So what this looks like is just feeling happy for somebody else's success. Instead of feeling jealous or feeling like, oh, I'm no good, feel happy for someone else's success. So often the ego tends to bring it all back to me. Oh my God, they got the job. Or, oh wow, they're so whatever. So accomplished at such and such, and look at me, And so we compare like that rather than rejoicing in the fact that this person has some amazing accomplishments. We should rejoice in that. And that this is something that the monks would talk about all the time. This particular thing about rejoicing in others' good qualities creates huge merit for our mental continuum. Huge merit, because it's one of the easiest things to do. It's one of the easiest things to do. It's easy to say the words, but it may be not so easy to actually really feel that rejoicing. Now we have to somehow look past our own ego, take our ego out of the picture, and just look at the other person and the accomplishments of that other person, whatever they may be, and just rejoice in it. And then they say that is, wow, the easiest way to gain merit. That's all you have to do is just rejoice. Because it changes your mental continuum. It changes your karma to do that.
I've heard it said is, would you rather dwell in pleasant feelings or unpleasant feelings? And would you rather celebrate or frown? And by rejoicing with them, you get to join in that pleasant feeling.
Right, exactly.
So it's immediate gratification in a sense, right? Immediate.
Yeah. And the other way, it just isolates you. You're not part of the joy. You're not part of the, celebration or whatever it is, and it just isolates you and go, wow, why isn't it me? And boy, that's pretty, but we do that. We do that. So it matters. These are ways we can shift our minds. These are ways we can shift our minds. Another one is seeing people as change, being able to change and not fix. So instead of what we tend to do is we label someone and we label them permanently and say so and so is this way. Like we've got to figure it out. They're this. And they're always going to be that way. But that's not true because people change. People can change. People do change. And so we need to stop doing that. We need to stop fixing labels onto one another. I mean, they can be helpful, to sort of identify somebody. But beyond that, we shouldn't fix a label that's them and they will never change. They're always going to be whatever quality that we, assign to them. People can change. And particularly when we're talking about negative qualities, or what we perceive as negative qualities. People can change, they're not fixed. So here's a big one: pausing before reacting. So this is a moment, if we do this is where we can really shift our karma. We can really shift it if we pause before reacting. And it's one of the most practical and transformative pieces of the entire teaching that Nagarjuna gives. If we really take this to heart, it can change how we can experience our entire day if we do this. So at the heart of Nagarjuna's teaching on leadership, especially when understood through the Prasangika view that we're talking about, it's a very simple but powerful truth. Between what arises and the way we react to it, there is a space where we can think. Between what arises and the way we react, there is a space where we can think. This is the pause that we're talking about. And in that space is where karma is created. That's where karma is created. In the space between what arises and how we react. That's karma. So we can either react in a way that's destructive, or we can react in a way that's beneficial. And if we pause a little bit so that we just don't go to our usual triggers and take just a second, a breath, to pause and think, how do I react to this? I mean, Kavita and I both, we recently had an experience like this with a friend, and we were not able to pause. Some things occurred and triggers were set off, and we lost it. Unfortunately, it all turned out okay. But that's where karma is created. And I was so concerned about it when it occurred, because it could have been a disastrous, very dangerous situation. And fortunately it didn't just happen that way. And maybe that's some karma. but I'm very, very aware of this. That if you can take that moment to pause before you just react, before you blurt out the thing, whatever triggers you, that's what happens. We get triggered and we have all these imprints that trigger, and we blast it out at somebody. Just to pause. This is really important. So here's some everyday things. Someone says something critical or hurtful. Well, an email is received in a way that we never intended it to be received. Somebody takes it in a really bad way. There's something that we said that we didn't even intend, or we have a plan. That plan falls apart. What happens then with all of these is we will have a feeling that it will arise in us, and that feeling will be either anger or fear or frustration. Frustration that the plan, and frustration is simply a mild form of anger. Frustration that this plan fell apart. Or anger that somebody, responded in a particular way to us or criticized us. So almost instantly when these things happen, somebody criticizes us, almost instantly we want to react. Like the reaction is right there, right? So from the Prasangika perspective, what's going on here? A situation appears, a feeling arises in us due to causes and conditions in us. The mind labels this feeling that arises as bad or unfair or, wow, this is a really bad experience. I've experienced this before. I'm not going to let it happen again. Like that. This arises in us. And then the reaction impulse forms. Very, very quickly, this all occurs in our mind. All of this is dependent arising. It's not fixed. It's not inevitable. It doesn't have to be that way. That's the thing. When we understand dependent arising, it does not have to be happen that way. So if we don't pause, the sequence is very automatic. Somebody criticizes us, we react, then we take an action, and then the karma is created. We've all seen this. I mean, Kavita and I, like I said, recently experienced something. So it was like, for days I was concerned about the karma, because we were triggered and we reacted in a way that was not.
Just to dispel the mystery, somebody then ended up driving under the influence of alcohol and could have hurt themselves or others because they left in a hurry, pissed off because of how we reacted. So
that was on our part. Both of us were triggered from our past experiences, and don't let this happen again. And it just got quickly escalated.
So Christopher, I would like to think that I'm not that evolved, but what I have found to be a very beneficial word to use in a situation like that is to label the situation energy.
Yeah.
This is a very energetic conversation.
Very energetic, right?
Right. This is a very energy infused situation, a very energy infused without and typically and specifically using the word energy so as I'm not labeling it as good energy or bad energy. It is just energy. And by interjecting that word, that's where I don't use it as often as I should, but thank you. Where that helps me pause.
Yeah.
When I can just recognize that it's energy, which isn't labeling the person.
Yeah.
It isn't labeling me. It isn't labeling good or bad. It's just there's a lot of energy.
That's great.
Here.
No, that's really great.
Mhm.
That you've developed that. You know, that's great. Because energy is very fluid, of course. I mean, it can shift very quickly.
Mhm.
And if you see it that way, you don't have to ride on what maybe the negative energy. You can take a little pause.
Just energy.
Yeah, yeah. So if we do pause, we can interrupt the chain, that chain reaction that we have. If we do pause, we can interrupt that. And the pause, like I said, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It can just be you take a breath. Just that. Or you just, pause for a second. So it's what it allows you is to be aware, to all of a sudden be aware of your own mind. If you do that, rather than just be totally wrapped up in this energetic situation that's unfolding, right? You just pause like that. It doesn't have to be big. But what stops you from doing is immediately acting on your first impulse. Because the first impulse, we're going to be drawing out of our past, somewhere in our mental continuum, how to react to this particular situation, particularly if it's something that has, occurred before with you. And you go, I know what this is. No way.
Not again.
No way again. Yeah, so we just take a pause so that we don't react in the same way. So in the pause, what happens is we begin to see that this feeling is arising. The urge to react is present. And from the Prasangika view, none of these are solid or permanent. None of them are solid or permanent. They are appearing, they are constantly changing, and they're dissolving. They're arising into appearance, they can change appearance, and then they will dissolve. They will go away. And that's a thing to also try and remember. This is just like you say, energy. It comes, it can go. And not to get caught up in that. So what that does is it creates freedom. Instead of I have to respond this way, we begin to see I can choose how I'm going to respond to this. It's like just stepping back a little, stepping out of the drama a little bit, stepping back and going, I can choose how I'm going to respond to this. But we have to have had the experience of what it's like to just react, to know that that's not good. That doesn't help. It could cause a lot of damage. I mean, sometimes one word will destroy a friendship for life. One word. I've seen it. I've seen it, and you can't take it back. And unless the person is willing to meet you and you talk about it, but in some cases, it never, ever. The relationship's gone because of one word. So that's karma. I mean, that can create a huge karmic imprint in our continuum when that happens. So we can choose how to respond. So here's another example: a family or relationship trigger. Someone close to you says something that pushes the familiar emotional button, very familiar emotional button. And then we immediately have the impulse either to defend ourselves or to withdraw or to argue. It's going to be one of those. We defend, how dare you, or we get into a big argument, or we just pull away, withdraw. I'm out of here.
Bye.
So in a pause, if we have a pause, we can say, this feels very familiar. This is a pattern. And this is exactly what I remember thinking in this situation that Kavita and I was talking about. It's like, whoa, this is so familiar. This is such a familiar pattern happening. And what happened was the person said something that was such a trigger based on a past patterning that, both of us kind of lost it,
A deja vu moment.
Yeah, it was like, no. It's very interesting to have had that happen and then to be reading this Nagarjuna stuff. So the response can be, I notice I'm getting reactive. I notice I'm getting reactive. I
There's
think
a lot of
I
energy
There's
here.
a lot of
I think I would like to respond more thoughtfully to this, And then you could even just say to the
Give
person,
me a second.
could we, give me a second here. Could we just pause for a minute?
No.
Just so to stop it from escalating. Yeah.
Even Joe said sometimes he'll drop a pencil, like he works in a school.
Uh,
He'll drop something just to get, because sometimes people want you to respond like that.
Yeah.
And so he'll drop a pencil to take that, to give a minute.
That's yes.
Yeah. So he'll pick up,
Tricks.
because people are waiting for your answer. So he'll drop something so it gives that space.
Yeah.
So I thought that was
That's
pretty good.
That's right. I mean, it's all about giving yourself some kind of space.
Yeah.
Cough.
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
I've heard a story of someone who was very courageous. A teacher told me one time she had a principal who, when someone's asked him a question and he wanted to reflect, he would actually take maybe, I think it was like 5 breaths, quite a considerable time. And people started asking, is he mentally okay? Seriously, they were concerned for him, but he kept with his practice. He said he wanted to respond in a thoughtful way to people and wasn't put off by people's faces and reactions to him waiting that long or that short, however you want to see it. He continued.
Seconds can seem like forever, right?
Yeah.
I think that's courageous.
Yeah.
And he did it. And and people admire him today. They talk about him waiting and how they felt heard, how they felt that someone actually took the time to think about what they were saying.
And not just react.
Right. That's what we do so often, is we react.
Yeah,
Right?
you just, So that between taking a step back and then executing what you were thinking of, would be the time that the intention is set.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah.
okay.
So you can take in the pause, you can then take and make the intention. I want my
So you're
actions to be
creating good
beneficial.
karma.
Yeah.
As opposed to,
Yeah.
I'm just going to open my mouth and
Right.
whatever comes out, comes out.
Right. Once the anger or the fear or the jealousy or whatever it may be, these afflictive emotions, once they take over, but it will not result in benefit.
Yeah.
So we want to take that pause and say, how do I respond to this in a way that's beneficial? Just very quickly like that. Just give yourself that amount of time. Then here's another. We have an internal self-judgment, and a lot of us do this. There's the scenario where you make a mistake, and you say to yourself, your immediate impulse is, God, I'm such a mess up. I'm not good enough. There are those of us who will do that. We are hard on ourselves. So you take a pause and you notice this is just a thought. It is not a fixed identity. I'm not a fixed identity. I'm not a mess up. That's a thought, right? And then your response is you can go, okay, this happened. I made a mistake. What can I learn from it? Then that becomes a trigger for growth rather than, a trigger for eternal self-judgment, being hard on yourself. What can I learn from this? Changes everything. Because then you see yourself on a path of growth, not a path of dumbass, or whatever it is.
Well, thinking.
It's stinking thinking when you do that. Yeah, exactly. So the deeper Dharma point here is that there is no inherently existing reaction. There is no inherently existing reaction. There is only a pattern that is arising, independence on causes. So in that little pause, we put in a different cause. It's not just a pattern based on what was triggered in our mental continuum. We're taking a pause and creating a new cause to go forward.
That's kind of interesting. So in other words, the incident is arising and you're, yeah. You're choosing the cause.
Right, this is, again, like I said,
What's
this is
causing?
about
Yeah.
taking wise and clear leadership of our own consciousness.
How important do you think it is when afflictive emotions or strong emotions arise, or agitation, and especially if they're repeated, habitual habit energy, that you accept it? Because I think a lot of times in my experience, I don't want to accept that energy. It's unpleasant.
Mm.
So I'm trying to get away from it. I'm trying to move on to my judgment or whatever it is. And I wonder, like I've been practicing a practice of when I feel agitation, which is daily, I stop and I pause. My practice is to pause and say, agitation, I see you. I'm experiencing agitation. I'm experiencing upset, and then say, I accept agitated feelings. I'm experiencing agitation. I welcome agitated feelings, or the feeling of agitated feeling, which I think puts it in its place of that temporariness, what you're talking about. That's an actual
Well,
feeling.
right, I mean, you're taking some time with that, really, rather than just, experience agitation, you're talking to the agitation.
And that
So
can
you're
help you.
engaging in it in a way that's completely different. I mean, it's, you're getting to know what the agitation is. And through that, actually, I think what can happen is you can get to the source of the
The root
agitation.
cause, maybe.
Yeah.
The root.
I've gotten a little glimpse that the agitation is temporary
Mhm.
by saying, I welcome feeling agitated feelings. And I got a little glimpse of the impermanence
That's really interesting.
that you're saying, that we talk about feelings, or feelings are not who we are. I got a little glimpse, a sense of that. And then I heard the practice also is, if it's something repeated or frequent or habit energy, once you calm, like you said, you pause, you welcome the agitation, then you calm, and maybe then or maybe later when you're calm, you could say, what are you trying to teach me? Or what are you wanting to tell me, agitation?
Yeah.
What are you wanting to show me? And just that question alone, right?
Yeah, I think that's very wise, actually, because it's there. It's coming up, especially if it's not being triggered by another person. You just find yourself agitated. Well, there's something. Well, even if it's triggered by another person, it is within our own mental continuum. That's what's causing the agitation. So to actually question it, to get to know it, to look at it, you're taking some time there, and eventually, I think what will happen is you will get to the bottom of what's causing the agitation, and perhaps be able to transform it. Not, there can be value to agitation, for sure. It can be a protective thing. You know, it's not that everything's bad, but it's how, when it gets out of hand. When we start attacking others because of it.
Yeah.
But just agitation alone is showing us there's something wrong here. There's something that needs to be looked at.
When it's frequent, right?
Yeah.
When it happens,
Mhm.
repetitive,
Yeah.
and over small things.
Or it becomes habitual, and like, how did I get into this habit? Is there a way I can change this habit? It's not like damning the agitation, but just, how do I transform this? It's recognizing the agitation, which I think is very mature.
And when with that, I've gotten a sense of that practice is so vital. Our practices are so vital because I could be wrong, been wrong many times. I'm getting a sense that I have underlying habit energy that I am not aware of, that I'm just getting a glimpse of.
Yeah.
I mean, not through regular agitation or whatever, but there's an underlying anger or an underlying habit energy that hasn't come up through myself, looking at myself, or through daily practice. There's an even underlying I'm like, oh my gosh, if it wasn't for practice, through practice, I'm beginning to get a little glimpse of that. And that's not through regular practice, just like a practice of looking at you. There's something I'm gonna say deeper, I don't want to give it that, but something that I'm unaware of. And maybe that's not true for other people. But for
Oh.
me, it's very I feel like like you said at the beginning, I don't know already, thinking I know all about myself or that I know all my habit energy. I don't.
You know what Venerable Verbena says all the time, and she's right, and it's true. We are nothing but a bunch of habits. So it becomes, how do we want to transform habits that we're not happy with and transform them into a habit that is beneficial? You know, for instance, with the agitation, if you can see that agitation is not always bad, agitation is showing us something. There's something that's not right. Let's look at what's not right rather than the agitation. Thank you, agitation. Let me see what's actually not right. Let me look at that and change that. If there's a habit there, change that habit if I can. Just slowly, gradually, little by little. But that's the way we do it, because we are nothing but habits. So either they're going to be destructive habits, like these afflictive emotions, which can be very destructive, causing all kinds of problems in relationships and whatever. Or we can develop habits that are going to be beneficial, constructive.
And becoming aware of their subconscious, I'm gonna say beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Or subconscious
Yeah.
habit energy.
Right. Oh, that's a
I
big
was
one.
thinking of the word latency, it's there's this seed and all it needs is a moment to be activated. And the next thing you know, it's like,
Some of these subconscious beliefs can come from our childhood, but some of them can be past lives too, that they're part of the mental continuum that we're not even aware of where they come from. How did I have this? Where did this come from? It's just it's like you were born with it, right? So then you think that's part of my long-term mental continuum. Am I happy with it? If I'm not happy with it, is there a way I can reframe it? Change it in some way? Think about it in a different way, So I think that's very wise what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the confirmation.
Yeah. Especially, it popped in my head, Rabina saying, we're nothing but a bunch of habits. That's all we are. And she's right. She's right. That is what we are. It's just, what habits are we going to habituate?
She says the mind is the workshop.
Yeah, well, this definitely. This is like the mind is the workshop. This is what if we can understand how our mind functions, we can change everything for ourselves. We really can. So let's move on. Now we're going to the next verses, and this is about Nagarjuna has this very poetic stanza that's about a tree of leadership. And he talks about a wise leader is like a tree, offering patience, respect, and generosity. When compassion is balanced with strength, people trust and rely on you. Leadership guided by wisdom remains stable and ethical. So if you think now in terms of this, a wise leader, we're a leader of our own, we're leading our own mental continuum. We take on that role rather than just let it run us, right? Whatever that means. I mean, it is our mental continuum, and we sort of become recognize that we are the leader of this. It's nobody else. We are the leader of this. Then we do this in a very, we become very stable. We become, we practice ethics, and we work on our wisdom, like you're saying, wisdom. But that's within our own mind for ourselves first, right? Because if we haven't done that first, then a lot of the things that we're trying to do to be of benefit to others will be colored by everything that's in our mental continuum. So it really makes sense to work on our mental continuum. Maybe not first, but work on it all the time. Work on it all the time. Always be aware of what's going on inside the consciousness. So Nagarjuna has this practical metaphor. A leader should be like a large fruit tree. A healthy tree provides many benefits. Shade, protecting people from the harsh sun. Flowers, bringing beauty and inspiration. And fruit, nourishing those who come near to the tree. So a wise leader, similarly, provides patience, giving people space to grow and make mistakes. That's a big one. Respect, honoring the dignity of others, no matter who they are. And then the fruit, nourishing those who come near, who are closer to you, nourishing those. Nagarjuna recognizes that leadership requires strength. A leader must sometimes show firmness when confronting destructive behavior. So he uses in the metaphor, he uses he says you could be like a candy that is soft and pleasant on the inside, but kind of firm and hard on the outside. In other words, you're inwardly compassionate, but outwardly you're capable of being very firm and decisive when necessary. So that always keep that compassionate inner, but realize it's not. So now what we're actually getting into is we're getting into compassion. So this is like a balance between kindness and strength. And that's the hallmark of a very wise leadership, a balance between kindness and strength. So too much softness will lead to just disorder, and everything's going to go amok. If you're not firm enough, everything's going to go amok. Too much harshness, and then you create fear and resentment. So we have to strike a balance. So this starts to get into compassion. So leadership is not becoming like a fixed kind person or a fixed strong person. Leadership is about responding appropriately to conditions within ourselves and within our own continuum. So the non-dual insight here is sometimes compassion looks like listening, supporting, being very kind, and gentle. And sometimes compassion looks like setting boundaries, being very firm, saying no. That's also compassion. So if we cling to one identity, I have to always be nice. I have to be a good, nice person, or I have to always be strong. I have to be the one who's strong. If we cling to that identity, then we lose our flexibility. Mm-hmm. We need to be more flexible in this. So if we understand emptiness and that there's no fixed way that anything inherently has to be or must be, then we can respond very fluidly according to what the situation needs. So these are two kinds of compassion. It's the compassion that's very, kind and caring and, helping when somebody really is down and needs it. But then there's also the compassion that can be very firm when somebody needs to hear no, because that's the only way they're going to stop doing what they're doing. So we need to know when to use these two with compassion. So here's some examples. What compassionate boundaries look like in real life. Where are we here? We're doing okay. So say a friend consistently talks to you all the time about their problems. Nonstop, problems, and they never really listen to you or don't even want to listen to you. It's just blah, 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 and you're just like, okay, here we go again. So what you can do is you can say, you know what? I care about you, but I'm not able to have this conversation with you in this way anymore. Can we approach our conversations differently? You're not slamming them. You're recognizing them. You're acknowledging them, and you're saying you want to have a relationship with them. But this is not working. That's compassionate. The other is just, I don't know what you call it. Masochistic, sadistic. This is, tell me your problems, and you don't even want to hear what I have to say. That's. I mean, if you've ever experienced anybody like that, it's unbearable. Unbearable. Exhausting. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It's just like you just want to take the phone and go, all right, you keep talking. I'm going to go and do the dishes. Mm-hmm. It's just awful. It's terrible.
That's great if it's a phone call.
It's great if it's a phone call. It's not a phone call. It's not so great. But that's that's
Well,
that's what we do. But instead of just taking it, we'll just go, you know what, this is not working.
Also helping a person, then, change this self,
Yeah,
hurting
yeah.
them,
You're helping them stop this one-sided dynamic that's going on. It's just like all about me.
Nobody
All about,
enjoys.
nobody likes
I
it.
had this happen recently. Somebody that lives out of state happened to be coming through town and mentioned somebody else who lives out of state who wanted to get together, and they said, "Why would I?" He literally said, "Why would I go visit them so that I can listen to them talk about themselves for 2 hours and not get in on the edgewise?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like, why would I do that?
yeah. I think we all know people like that.
And that's sad for that person.
It's very sad for that person. It's actually helped if
want
you do.
to be, wouldn't want to. So how do you?
So if you like what I just said, if you say, "Could we stop this for a second? I would like to have a conversation with you, but this kind of conversation is not working."
But this
So
is
you're-
not a conversation.
So you're stopping them from this thing that's destructive for them. That nobody's going to like them.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes that. So you're inviting them to grow. You're inviting them to change. And you're saying, I like you. Can we do this? Can we change? That's difficult for us to do.
Yeah.
But that's compassion.
Mhm.
That's compassion. In a way that we normally don't think about it.
You know what I notice is like I just don't think I have the skill to address it at all.
Well, this is why we're studying.
I
to
wouldn't
get
know what
these
to
skills.
say, how to say it, and I'm sure I'd screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put yourself down so much.
So I have
you
to
can
just
do it.
go hide because my track record for saying what I'm thinking isn't
Mhm.
so good.
All right, here's another example. Holding someone accountable. This is also very difficult for us to do. So somebody behaves in a way that harms others, at work, at home, or in a group. So compassion here might mean naming the behavior very, very clearly. You name it. You tell the person what this behavior is, and you tell them very clearly what it is. And then you set consequences. If you continue this,
I'm
there
gonna
are-
shoot myself.
There are consequences. I don't think we
I'm
can
gonna hang up
actually
on
be
you.
friends anymore. Basically, I don't think we can be friends anymore.
Mm.
And then not ignoring the impact that it's having, on yourself and on others.
On them.
Yeah. So why is this then compassion? It's because it protects others. If somebody's actually harming others through their behavior and their actions, it protects the others that are involved in that situation where they're feeling harmed and attacked, and they don't want to be around that person. So it protects others. It helps the person who's doing this see cause and effect. See that their behavior is having an effect on others that is probably not at all what they want. So that's a very compassionate thing to let them know. And then it creates the possibility for change. If you say, I still want to be your friend, I still want to, we can work together, but, some things have to change. Well, it creates the possibility for change. If that person really wants to, be your friend and not be harmful, then they might consider change. They might do things that will change. But if we just take it or just try to avoid them all the time, that's not compassionate. That's just escaping. It's escaping a karmic appearance that arose to us, which will probably arise to us again if we don't deal with it properly, in a proper compassionate way, an intelligent way. It will keep coming back to us until we learn how to deal with it properly.
What if you're dealing with a leader, like you on the couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago, like bringing something like that up to a leader who's treating you not right?
I think
Should you bring it up and say you're not treating me right,
I
or
think-
should you just let it go? And
depends on.
it's kind of hard because you need a
If
job.
if you see that happening also with a leader with a lot of other people,
Yeah.
if that's a pattern, you could find a way to say, that this is do you want a really well functioning business or environment? Do you want a well functioning environment as a leader? Well, then there's some things that perhaps are not helpful. What's going on? It's very difficult.
I know it's hard.
Very difficult in a job
Depends on
because
what you have
you
against it, not
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. I'm not working right now, but I know in the past it's hard to tell your boss
a lot of
you have
people-
no leadership skills. You shouldn't be doing this.
It
you
had,
know.
Right.
I mean,
It's not- you're not the only one.
experience. You
You
have,
know.
you have to be prepared to be very specific with examples, otherwise you can't. It's hard, you can't really bring something to somebody in generalities, you know.
Yeah.
Well, here's another one.
Let
Letting
me just
someone.
add something. At work, my recommendation would be to go to HR and work
I'm
with
just
them.
gonna say.
Yeah.
And
I think
my,
that's the
Always
much
chime
better.
in.
and my boss would say, I am HR. So thank
Or
you.
HR could be right in bed with the boss.
Yeah.
Her company was so small, her boss was HR.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's kind of like, okay,
Anyway,
yeah.
I mean,
and then they
I
say,
think everybody who's been.
Don't thank
in
them, they're
an
getting paid.
organization, and especially if you've ever had to manage people, but I read this once and I know it's for sure true that the only reason people, the main reason, more than salary, people leave jobs is because of whoever their manager is, whoever's their direct boss.
Yeah.
That's the power of that position. Even if you have one person that reports to you, you're like,
So it's very important if you're a boss to be a wise.
that's why we're
ethic.
super nice to the chickens and the cats and the cats and the chickens and the ducks.
Right, here's
But
another.
also, but at work, you can leave.
Yeah, true.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Just
at
get
work
out
you
and
can
say-
leave.
You don't have to fix a leader at work. I mean,
That's That's right. That's right.
One thing that is
See,
on my
that's good.
mind in terms of, fixing, like you think about it, expand this out to a more like, national or global venue. Essentially, in a way, what we're trying to do through our accumulated merit is not to change samsara, but to empty it, to give everybody the same information, tools, ideas,
To get out of this
or
realm, yeah.
enlightening or liberating. So you empty it. I just think that's helpful thought right now, because if we're looking at world events, trying to say, will this world ever change? One way to think of it, I think it's very productive, is to think, okay, a realm where conflict exists is going to exist as long as beings who generate that kind of realm, call it planet Earth, as long as there are beings who have the mental propensity to create a conflicted realm will exist. So the task is to empty it out.
And with Buddhism, that is.
So that's, I want to say that because that's
one
part of
consciousness.
the underlying thing is, don't get downcast. No, you will never change samsara. If you take samsara for what it is, it's a realm where afflicted beings hang out together. So empty it and get yourself and others out of that kind of realm and into, the next.
As Geshe Drachma told us once, he said, don't worry about if this world ends. There are plenty of other worlds for you to be born in and inhabit. This is
Yeah, I mean, the point here is, empty the
Yeah.
afflicted ones.
Yeah.
And
I want to get to this one because I think this will have
Overpopulate
a meaning for a lot of
God
people.
realms.
Here's another example: letting someone face consequences. So this is when you have a loved one who repeatedly makes choices that create difficulty. Instead of constantly rescuing them, you step back. You offer care, but do not remove the consequences. You do not remove the consequences from them. It's, not always saving them, rescuing. So why is this compassion? It's because growth requires experience. It requires experiencing the results of your actions. That's what growth requires. Experiencing the results of your actions. And so by doing that, you're not reinforcing dependency, and you're respecting their capacity to be able to learn. So that's a big one, and I see it a lot. I've seen it with myself in situations that that exist in our lives. I've seen it with friends. I see it a lot. We're always rescuing somebody, and it just becomes, and they fall into it. They just take it for everything that they can get, and that doesn't help it. It doesn't help them. So to be compassionate is to allow them to experience the results of their behavior. And it's very, very difficult when you're talking parent-child Very, very difficult, and it happens a lot. So that's also compassion. I wanted to make sure I got to that one. And I think it's almost yeah, it's time. So there's just a little bit more in here. Maybe I'll just leave it for the study guide or next time or whatever. But yeah, so I think we've had pretty good discussion, and it is 12:29. Do you want to do some closing?
Yeah, we'll just do. I mean, let's just do. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could like suddenly start practicing these things?
Well, little by little, I think we can. If we remember
We've
even
got some
anything.
really good suggestions, and good
Mm-hmm.
techniques and how to apply.
What we're doing right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what we're doing right now.
Wow, let's rejoice in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So all right. I don't know. Let's just dedicate the time we've spent here. So think about your sincere desire to have the ideas, the discussion, the intention of being in a class like this and being on a path, to have all of that intention, that attention, and the efforts we're going to personally make to put these things into practice on a moment by moment basis throughout our day and the week and life. Just sort of generate sort of the feeling of determination and optimism that, hey, I can do this. They didn't just lay this path and these ideas out there so that we would keep not doing it. It's doable. So we'll sort of get that optimism going and then dedicate your efforts in this direction to your participation in the great enlightenment of all your mother sentient beings, your mother, brother, sister, father, beloved sentient beings that surround you in every direction. And I guess that's all I feel.
Great. Good dedication. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you, Chris Covida.
Oh, you're welcome.
you.
So remember,
Thank
next
you.
week we are with no class next week, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Kavita, what is the date of the potluck?
May 3rd. I think that's that Sunday.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'll stop the recording.
We'll save a cabin for you,
Somewhat.
or
All right.
a bed, or
Thank you.
channel,
Okay,
or a Zoom channel.
Okay, here's my mouse. I'm gonna stop the recording.